Okay, here are a few comments about the final exam. Some people have asked me to post something. So you'll see a list of items that I came up with. First of all, I think going through the equation sheet, equation by equation, section by section, making sure you understand all the symbols, thinking about what equations you don't really understand or you need more help with. And keep in mind that every equation is either a definition or a statement of some relationship, and you should be able to comment on each equation. And on the exam, there may be some essay questions. I may ask you to explain the concept of inductance or explain the concept of resistance or discuss Gauss's laws or discuss field of flux. So these general ideas you should be able to make comments on, and equations are shorthand statements about relationships. So anyway, the equations kind of cover the whole semester, and if you go through that sheet, it's kind of a quick review of everything we did from electric force, electric fields, electric flux, electric potential, through circuit elements like capacitors, resistors, and simple and more complicated circuits. And then we did magnetism, once again magnetic fields and magnetic flux. And the equation sheet walks you through those major sections of the course, so it's a good place to start review. That being said, most of the questions on the exam are likely to be similar to assignment questions. And so going through the assignments in reverse order, the more recent ones will be more important. Almost certainly there'll be an RC, RL, RLC, or LC circuit question on the exam, so that's a good place to start. And then working your way back, the next thing that we did and haven't been tested on yet on a major exam is magnetism. And then before that is some of the simple circuits and electric fields and electric flux, and that was covered in the first exam, but you should review that for the exam. Quizzes and laboratories are also relevant, although I would go to the assignments first. Then there are the general, overall concepts of the course. Fields and flux are a major element or unifying theme over this course. Electric fields and magnetic fields and electric flux and magnetic flux. So can you answer an essay question about fields or flux? And remember, when you're writing an essay question, and there's bound to be at least a couple, you want to use, and I'll remind you in the question, words, equations, diagrams, and examples. So the words are easy, you just type it out. The equations, you might have to rough it out because you're on a keyboard. And examples you just describe, and diagrams you might have to describe. You're not really probably going to be able to do diagrams, but there might be diagrams in the exam that you can refer to in your explanations. So remember, explanations involve words, equations, diagrams, and examples. And the equations in physics, the equations are always central to the explanation. So your explanation should center around the equation. The words and the diagrams and example should be an illustration of the equation, which defines or explains whichever concept is being asked. And then on the practical level, vectors, adding vectors, vector components can always be challenging, and we did that with electric field vectors, and we also did it with magnetic field vectors. So most certainly there'll be some problem on the exam where you have to add a variety of vectors in different directions to come up with a net field or a net force. And the right-hand rules capture a lot of what we know about electricity and magnetism and the relationship between them. So a good review of the right-hand rules would be in order. Alright, so I'll post this very brief introduction so that you have something right now, and if I can find the time, I'll go back and I may post a longer version where I cover some of these specific areas in some detail. But at least for now, you have a general overview of how you should think about preparing for the final exam.